Hey, folks, this podcast is getting exciting. In fact, Eric and I were just chatting pre-show. We literally have the first podcast that's launched, like as in minutes ago, and we're quite excited. We have a feature where we can record certain ones and play them as live, just for convenience sake for you. But Eric, that was pretty cool to see a few dozen people just jumping in, and we have yet to even really talk about it. So, how does it make you feel?
It's exciting stuff. It's definitely a topic that a lot of people are excited to learn about. And like I said, I mentioned it before, it's something that everybody should be interested, give it a listen, do your own research if you even want to go further into the space. I think it's something interesting, and it's definitely going to be a foundational part of our future, whether it's finances, social media, the way we interact with each other. So it's going to be big. It's definitely going to be something big.
Yeah. Well, and what else is cool? You're kind of the staple co-host here, and then I bring in a few people. We have some episodes about. I just booked an NFT artist,
Oh
and
wow.
and so she's going to talk about that. There's some blockchain security people. I just feel like, man, I cannot get enough of this topic. I'm not saying, well, I'm just going to do one a week. I'm literally reaching out to people, sharing my calendar link and saying, let's talk. And
Yeah.
and I take notes, and you've been kind of my teacher, even though you're half my age. You've been my teacher for you know, gee, 9 months now or so. And this is exciting, but I feel like there's so many new things. Did you hear about Steph Curry dropping his new shoe as an NFT?
Yeah, I saw that. It was a commemorative shoe to celebrate, him breaking the 3-point record. What's cool about the shoe, it's limited to the amount of shots. I think it was like 2,974, something around that
Sweet.
number. And you can wear that shoe in the metaverse, something we'll touch on today. And it's something that's very, very cool. Think about it as, it's something along the lines of having that verified badge on Twitter. You have that on Twitter versus, in a virtual world, you're wearing the Steph Curry shoes, people will notice. You're like, wow, he has one of those, commemorative shoes. Something really cool.
It
Definitely.
is cool. It is cool. And what's interesting is, yes, we're going to talk about NFTs today. We're going to talk about Metaverse. I even, man, it's like I'm just dialed in now to this.
Mhm.
Not in a bad way. I don't mean this is an arrogant way at all. But each year I kind of plan for what's coming. And as I was thinking and planning for my next year, again, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that aligns with my passions, I'm pretty much saying if somebody doesn't have blockchain in their future, in other words, if they're opposed to it, I really don't think that we align.
Mhm.
Now, and that might sound like, what? What are you talking about? But I just feel like, I'm doing some of the same stuff that I did last year to kind of finish out the year, and I'm bored by it,
Yeah.
and then we get on blockchain, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, with blockchain just this week, and again, some of this sounds crazy, but you might already know this, but do you know they have digital models now?
Mhm.
Did you know about that?
Like fashion models?
Yes, like, in other words, because they wanna save on, resources, and I'm not talking about money, but I'm talking about, like, just, you know, the time, the clothes, the lights, the camera. They actually have, the first official, and it's African American digital model, and,
Mhm.
she's already in several company ads. Like, companies are hiring her out, and so there's a digital model agency now that has created 5 digital models, different
Wow.
ethnicities. Isn't this nuts?
Yeah, it's crazy.
They have Instagram accounts, the digital
Oh
model,
wow. Yeah. Oh
and what I
wow.
And again, some people might be like, "This is absolutely nuts," but here I want to give people an example of a lawyer that I heard this week. A lawyer had his 11-year-old build a law firm in the metaverse
Oh wow.
because he's a lawyer.
Hmm.
And he says, "I want to be the first in the metaverse, and all I'm going to do is create on my plot, of land," which again, all this is brand new to me, but I love it. But he basically said, "Look, there's going to be legal issues in Decentraland,
Yeah.
and I'd rather have my office have a space there with my business card where I can actually help people." I mean, there's a whole bunch of people. You showed my son and I the other day, and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. Axi Infinity. Let's get into NFTs, the metaverse.
Yeah.
Blow our minds, Eric.
Well, first, let's talk about NFTs. NFTs is a hot topic. I think it was one of the words of the year in one of the
Yes.
dictionaries. Yeah, so that's huge. Basically non-fungible token. Very, that's what it stands for, and essentially, what it is that it gives a digital identity to some sort of digital object. So let's say I have a picture of I don't know, a picture of that I took of you, Kary, a nice action shot, and Kary, you're super famous, and everybody wants the picture. I can now create it as an NFT, and essentially has this digital ID to it. So just like anybody can go and view the Mona Lisa in the museum, somebody owns it. I'm sure the museum owns it. Well, it'll be very similar to that. Like people can, look at your picture online and see it there, but at the end of the day, whoever owns it, which let's say it's you, Kary, owns that piece of digital art. So some people are like, oh, that makes no sense. I can just like right click and save that piece of art. But at the end of the day, you do not own it, and the blockchain indicates who therefore owns it. And what's interesting about that is it's become super popular, especially on social media. That's kind of how it came to light. People were buying NFTs and they're so-called PFP NFTs, profile picture NFTs. So I'm sure you guys have heard of, Cryptopunks or the apes and things like that. And
But you know
essentially,
what? Maybe they haven't.
maybe they haven't. Oh well.
No, in fact, my audience probably, again, I don't want to insult them, but I've invited my audience to come with me on this journey. And I
Mhm.
bet you a lot of them, unless they're just, OGs and they want to like find out about this more, but I bet you a lot of them don't even know about CryptoPunks or the Bored Apes. So can you even share like that cultural phenomenon now, like
Mhm.
how celebrities are buying them and they're $250,000 for a JPEG? Again, like people think that's nuts, but talk about the community behind it and
Mhm.
the status and social currency as well.
That is, that's exactly where this came into play, where it came to light that specific social currency aspect of it. Like, as we'll talk about, a lot of things have different use cases, but that's how things came to light. And essentially, CryptoPunks were these NFTs that they were actually free. CryptoPunks came out as free. You just had to pay, I think it was like the gas fee, as we talked about one of the earlier episodes. You had to pay gas fees for transactions, and you had to pay the gas fee to mint it, and they were free. And over time, it started as okay. If you own CryptoPunks, that means you're kind of an OG, an original
Original
person.
gangster, yeah.
Yeah, an original person in the crypto space. So if you own a CryptoPunk, like, oh wow, people started viewing others as, oh, he owns a CryptoPunk, like he has my respect. And this is just purely in the crypto space when it first started. Like other people in crypto, like, okay, that person is a CryptoPunk, like a sense of respect comes with that. And then it became sort of a sense of community. Okay, like if you own that CryptoPunk, now you're like in a higher place than other people in the space, because either you were early to that movement or you have the funds to acquire, because now they have appreciated and they became relatively expensive. And then it started to leak.
We're not talking like $100 expensive.
No, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. There's been CryptoPunks that sold for over $1 million, and this is a little like it's a pixelized person, and there's like only 10,000 of them. And the main use for people to have them is they put them as a profile picture on Twitter, Instagram, mostly Twitter, but across all their different social media platforms. And So yeah, it started with the Cryptopunks, and that caught a lot of buzz in the media. Celebrities started buying them. $1 million sales for these pictures, these digitalized pictures of little like cartoons. And then going forward, more people started developing their own versions of these projects. And then another one that's very popular, which actually just surpassed Cryptopunks in value, is called Bored Ape Yacht Club, and essentially is these drawings of these apes, 10,000 of them once again, and they're like they have these set of attributes, but they're computer generalized into like attributes, just randomness. So it could be one with a black shirt, just like me, black shirt, chain, glasses, and it can be one like Kary, gray shirt,
Bald.
no glasses, yeah, no hair, things like that,
Right.
and and then different things could be rare. There could be maybe only two bald, bored apes,
Yeah.
and having one of those is rarer than the others. So, they vary in price, but I think the cheapest one now is well above $200,000, and
It's
that's
crazy.
pretty
It's crazy.
much only from the social currency standpoint.
Yeah.
If you were to
And
have one of these as your profile picture, I've seen people post it that they get one and they put it as their profile picture, and by the end of the week, they have acquired 10,000 new followers just for having that.
okay, so now we're getting into some of the utility. Okay, grow your social media following. Like, let's be real, there's some people that have probably created business partnerships because, oh, that person has a bored ape, so I'm gonna follow them. Oh, look, they're also a XYZ uh,
Hmm.
professional, and now I'm gonna lean in. So in many ways, you have Rolexes or whatever that for years. I mean, again, we need to we can't if we got haters today that might say like, what is today's youth? Back in the day, back in the day, they had a feather, with a headdress. And if you had that feather, you were all that, or you maybe you were a mighty warrior. Rolexes. Would somebody buy a Rolex if no one else existed on planet Earth? I don't know.
Hmm.
So, some of these things only exist because we have a community. But you've also mentioned that the Bored Ape Yacht Club also has other benefits. Like, didn't they have some mutant thing? And
Hmm.
are they going to have events? Who knows? What do you think the community's gonna do?
Well, I know they had this thing, big week in New York City called NFT Week. And I'm from New York City. It was something I'd never seen before. All the billboards in Times Square had different NFTs on it. So it's a little surreal, starting to see like crypto become more
Mainstream.
mainstream.
Oh my gosh.
But they had um since it was NFT week, basically a lot of big projects, they had these very exclusive events where you can only attend if you had that NFT. So I know Bored Ape Yacht Club had an actual yacht party. You had to be a holder to attend that. I own something called Atom Bombs. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's a clothing brand called The Hundreds, and they came out with their own NFTs. I happened to get one. My buddy's like, "Oh, these are cool." I was like, "Okay, I got one." I invited to a party, which was open bar exclusive with Steve Aoki as a DJ. He's like a famous DJ. So it was a private party, and if you had that NFT, you could join. So that's some of the utilities that come with kind of like these social, community driven
Interesting.
NFTs. And then along with that, like you mentioned, some of these projects they continue to have other projects that they come out with. So the Bored Apes, they had a mutant ape yacht club where it's like sort of these apes, but they're mutated. And if you were a holder of this Bored Ape, you receive an airdrop, basically allowing you to purchase or to create one of these mutant apes, and that alone generates income for you, just because since the Bored Ape Yacht Club, it's already well renowned and things are reselling for absurd amounts. Anything by them now is automatically going to be worth more because there's
Wow.
so many people that want only limited amount. So
Yeah.
things like that, but that's more of a social aspect. NFTs are starting to have utility way further, deeper than that. That actually
Yes.
have more effect that can produce income. There's NFTs that are literally income producing assets. Besides, appreciation of, an ape image because, the community thinks it's cool, which is perfectly fine.
Sure.
But there's more that have utility where you can actually produce income with it. An example would be This is where we get into metaverse and gaming.
Yep.
So NFTs, they allow this digital identity for goods. So now people have started to apply them for tools you can use, let's say, within games. Before, an example is, Fortnite or Roblox. People pay money into these traditional video games, and they buy something. Let's say they want to look like Spider-Man. They buy a Spider-Man skin. It's called a skin or
Yeah.
a cosmetic, and then they could go around playing the same game, Fortnite game or whatever, and they just look like Spider-Man. It's really cool. You're playing with your buddies. Oh, look, I got the Spider-Man skin. It's a cool, fun time. But, however, the value ends there. The value ends at you owning it and playing with it in the game. You cannot extract that value out.
Yep.
Now with NFTs, you can buy this skin as an NFT, and you can turn around and sell that as well. Or you can turn around and gift that to a buddy. All these other things aren't so much so allowed in a traditional game. So now that's just a skin. It's more cosmetic, more social currency once again. But then let's say in a different game, let's talk about Axi Infinity now. Axi Infinity is the most popular crypto game, and it came to popularity so much so for one main reason, is that it allowed players to earn income through playing the game every day. So, you can own, let's say, land in the game. You can now work this land to create these resources, which another player could use to build up their character in the game. Let's say your character needs, food. Let's say milk and eggs to make your character strong to fight other characters in the game. You can have farmland, which you own as an NFT, and now you can farm these resources on that land and then sell those resources as other NFTs. And players can incorporate that into their characters in the game. And then let's say, it becomes some sort of alternate economy because,
It does.
you
It
know,
does.
somebody is creating this food, right? Whatever, they're farming their land. Now they turn around and sell it to somebody. Let's say you, Kary, let's say your job in the metaverse, what you do, and this is how you produce your income, is that you build up these characters through using the resources and combining them, and let's say training them in the game, playing with them. And then once they're built up, you turn around and sell them to somebody else for a profit. Now, some people might think, that's a lot of work. That sounds absurd. Why don't I just work in the real world? Well, the thing is, this provides an alternate labor economy that is more open and more accessible than anything else in the world. Anybody in the world can tune in with internet and computer and play this game and do all these things. And what's interesting about that is that there's third world countries like, Southeast Asia, example, Philippines, things like that, Taiwan maybe, and then there's Latin American countries as well where people earn maybe $5 to $10 a day. And through playing these games all day, they can make anywhere between like $40 to $60 a day, which, and then in turn can drastically change their life by 5 times, 6 times their income of what they make
Yes.
in whatever job, for whatever reason they're fortunate enough to work in real life. The metaverse is more open and more accessible. So, for example, naturally, someone here in the United States, we're much more fortunate working, let's say, a minimum wage job, we'd make more than $60 a day. But then, like I said, there's different roles. They sell those tokens to somebody else, and that somebody else might be, us. We want to play the game, and we can battle each other, and that's our game. This is how we make, money in our game and how we have fun. So we buy these resources, implement it to our characters, build them up, and now we play them. And that already exists in the gaming world.
It's true. It's true. One of my clients, we'll bring him on a future show. I won't disclose his name yet, but he actually has teams that he's built of Axi Infinity players. So it's almost like, a casual observer can think this is nuts, but when you think about a football owner who literally buys, let's say, the Green Bay Packers, love Green Bay Packers. But they're stockholders, right?
Yeah.
For the Green Bay team, and they hire a manager, and the manager has to have a certain amount of tickets sold, and from ticket sales they can purchase players, and these players can actually have great lives. I mean, this is literally happening, but not in a fictitious game, a real world. It's happening in a fictitious game, the metaverse.
What it is, honestly, is it is a game. However, with the allowance of blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and NFTs, all this combines to now create, like I said, this alternate economy. And the fact that you can make real income from this and, do all these things just like a functioning economy where somebody like your friend can have a team of players use his assets, his NFTs, and produce income. They make money off the income. He makes returns on, the assets that he lends out. And it starts to become this, alternate reality just because it produces income.
It's crazy.
It produces income like a real business,
Yeah.
except it all happens in the metaverse. Who is to say this is not, reality? Because at the end of the day, it is producing income. It's an alternate economy.
I've heard that someday a lot of gaming companies are chatting about how you can go from different metaverses to different metaverses, almost like, China to the US to France. But you're going to be able to take your assets and your
Hmm.
social currency, even Steph Curry's shoes. I believe you can take them into several
Yes.
metaverses.
Yes. So, this is all thankfully to, blockchain technology. And it's in such a way that, let's say, if you're all built on the same layer one network, the layer one protocol, as we spoke about in a previous episode, with Ethereum, other layer ones, if you're all on the same layer one, it's almost so that you can, take your Steph Curry shoes, go from one world that's in that same like layer one, move it to another world, use it there, and vice versa, and different things like that. So it's definitely exciting. And something to note is that accessibility, that openness, that
Mhm.
anybody can access it and how you can move it around. It makes it very exciting, and that is why the assets have appreciated so quickly and so quick and so fast. And for two reasons. One, it's an emerging market. Since the value of the total market was already low to begin with, an influx of money creates a drastic change. But it's also more fun, more interactive, and more accessible than their physical counterparts.
Yeah. And I want people to realize, yes, we're focusing on gaming today, but just like we mentioned, the lawyer, some of my audience are faith people. I literally, like it might already exist, but I see a church being built in the metaverse. 100%.
100%. Hmm.
100%. Like, why would someone not create a church that is a place of worship and then people can go to the church, they can ask questions about faith, and they may get helped in the metaverse, and or they might get told, you know what, hey, why don't you pop off on Zoom and we'll have a separate chat, or hey, why don't you come to our churches down the street? Like, this is the whole blurring of worlds that I just saw the Matrix 4. And the first 30 minutes of the Matrix 4, unbelievable. I mean,
Uh-huh.
but the second, third, and the third, okay. It was fun, it was fighting, but the first third, you don't know what world he's in. You don't know if he's in, the real world, the metaverse of the metaverse, and you're just like, I saw it, and knowing, having chatted with you, I was like, dang, this is
Mhm.
happening. Uh, it's unbelievable. So give us some more practical examples, because I know some people are just like, yeah, I'm not into gaming, and they'll miss the whole NFT
Mhm.
thing. You also mentioned it's really like a ticket, but someday could you see that when you go buy a Toyota or a Ford, that literally they're also going to give you on your phone an NFT that has like the VIN number,
Mhm.
blockchain number, and you're not going to be able to have certain uses with that vehicle unless you have the NFT. This will prevent theft. I mean,
Mhm.
you see what I'm talking? I mean, my
Yeah,
brain's
yeah,
been on this
yeah.
for a while, because I'm a crazy thinker. So I've just been processing like, oh my gosh, this
Mhm.
this is going to change. If anybody thinks that, well, we're in this industry, so it's not going to affect us, NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency, um, augmented reality, artificial intelligence. I'm just saying they're clueless. What do you think?
Mhm. Well, this is what I'll say. So, like I said, we mentioned before, this happened before with Web 2.0, where the internet was coming. People were like, for example, cell phones. Oh, I don't want people to call me all the time. That's so weird. Why would people have access to me all the time? Or why do people text? That's so dumb. You can just call. Why would I text people? And it goes down the list of lines of things, and now people, use all those things as part of our society. And what I would say about Web3 is that, it's early. There isn't a lot. It hasn't breached into too many fields. It started specifically first with finance. It reached into finance. Still hasn't reached as 1% of its full potential there, I believe so. It starts reaching into social media, hasn't reached its full potential there. What I'd say is, it's important to understand your specialty. As we spoke about, the other day, everybody has their specialty in what they do, and I think it's important to realize, to understand, and to think about that their specialty aligned with this new and up and coming opportunity can, create something. Like you said, you don't think anybody has a church in Web3. I'm sure, if you had a church in Web3, there's going to be people that show up. Like,
it's going to be so popular. Oh my gosh.
People are going to show up because it's, like I said, it's so openly accessible from anywhere in the world. You get on the computer and you get in, and you log on. What you told me earlier about that lawyer, I think people might not even understand what that is. There's thousands and thousands, millions of people that can go into Decentraland and they walk around. And what he paid for is prime time advertising real estate. All these people from all over the world that otherwise would not have a clue of who he is, if they walk by that in the metaverse, they will see Metaverse lawyer XX and X, like whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And that is insane. And
it is insane.
Going forward,
his 11-year-old daughter built it, and land is not cheap. So let's just talk about this for somebody. I mean, there's been land in Decentraland, I'm told, that easily $90,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were with my son the other day. Remember that? Did we see a piece of land for $4 million? Was it $4 million?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was like one of the original. It was the Genesis block.
Yeah, it was one. Yeah, it was one of the first pieces of land.
Axi Infinity or something.
Yeah, for Axi. That's right.
Yeah. So what I want people to realize is, like, you could go buy a $4 million amazing house and live in it. And again, my generation, I'm 45. It sounds nuts to say, oh, I'm going to spend $100,000 on a piece of digital land. But you're saying that digital land, imagine if somebody could have built in Central Park or New York City. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine New York City being 100, 200, 300 years ago, and all of a sudden you can build a piece of land on Main Street. But now New York City is not the most densely populated. Now it's the metaverse. So now you have billions of people that 24/7 can access your land. Dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's something exciting. And what's interesting is that, I'd say maybe 10 years on the line, we could look back at this podcast and, people could probably make fun of us, like, these guys are so old. Like,
yeah. They're
going to be so advanced. And exactly. They're going to be so advanced and so just forward thinking at that point that these guys are old. And, some people, like I said, not everybody accepts it. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people don't want to understand it, so they push it to the side. Kind of how you mentioned. Oh, who would want to text? Who doesn't text nowadays? Who doesn't?
My doctor texts me when I order a prescription. Walgreens texts me and says, "Hey, your prescription's ready." So, like, again, you're right. 20 years ago, we couldn't even see the internet, what was going to happen. And then you're right. That's how I feel like today blockchain is. I was doing an interview with Pete. You know of Pete,
mm-hmm.
And he was saying we're like in the first inning of the baseball game. Like, if people think, oh, I missed it. I missed blockchain because now it's $50,000 a Bitcoin or whatever. Would you agree that we are so in the early stages?
Let me explain something to you, Kary. Have you ever met an accountant that will tell you he specializes in doing accounting for cryptocurrency?
I've never met.
I've never met one, but I'll tell you something. That is something that almost everybody will need now because everybody's starting to get involved in that.
Yeah.
And just like there's an accountant for that, like you said, there's going to be a lawyer for that. There's going to be a publisher just like you that specializes in that. There's going to, and there just starts to open a whole sea of just,
It's
things that
unbelievable.
you want to get involved in. And like I said, these are things that people need nowadays.
Yeah.
And the need is only going to continue growing. Adidas bought land and they're going to have
Yes.
this thing on
And
Metaverse.
and let's talk about Nike though, because Nike, what I heard that they did recently is they said, you know what, we know we need to get in this space, but we can't start from square one. So they
Hmm.
actually bought a digital sneaker company
Hmm.
and essentially fast tracked it. So that's another option. People today could be like, instead of starting at zero, they could actually come alongside a consultant. They could come alongside someone in the space and they could pay to get to the front of the line very quickly.
Yeah, and that for example for Nike that makes complete sense. But I also think, like I said, there's just so much opportunity. Like everybody is still almost at the starting line,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot of ideas that people haven't explored, people haven't done. There's people that can do consulting for almost about just about anything. Oh, how to create. There's a need right now for people just to help other people start their crypto focused companies. Like people don't know where to start. There's a need
Yeah,
just for that. There's a need for
absolutely.
accounting, for lawyer, for publishing, for almost
Absolutely.
everything, for artists, for
Yeah.
programmers, and it's just gonna keep on going. And what people say is, okay, I don't see people just going on this virtual world. Okay, well, you don't see that, but what about when more job opportunities start to happen in the metaverse? Where I was telling you, there's not jobs, but you can play the game and earn $60 a day. It's
Yeah.
gonna get deeper than that. Now people are gonna start paying more to do a little bit more complicated things.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
start paying more and more. So eventually, it's gonna get to a point where, like I said, it is. I do think it is the most open and accessible alternative labor market, and it's gonna continue to grow and expand to the point where, you know, people are just gonna end up working in the metaverse. You almost already do. You already work on the internet.
That's true.
You
No, it's
basically,
true.
you
That's
basically
true. But
already do.
the pandemic made it so that, I mean, people used to laugh at me and be like, "What? You don't have office space? Your company's virtual?" And then all of a sudden now, after they built a 4-story building that they haven't been able to even use because of the pandemic, they're like, "Dang, maybe that's smart." I didn't try to be smart. I just didn't have the capital to build a 4-story office building. So.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, just in conclusion, Eric, because I know we're getting out of time, but this is so much fun, and you have my word, man. Every day I'm studying this stuff,
yeah,
so I'm
me
I'm going
too.
to be bringing you. At the beginning, Eric would tell me everything, and now we're at least talking because he's helped me so much. But what I think that this is going to accelerate, we were talking to Pete the other day, and Pete's created all these laws of technology and stuff. But he basically said that because blockchain is open, because there's a decentralized world that we now live in, the speed of technology, unlike the internet that was kind of like slow and took 20, 30 years to really get into the culture. You said it. I mean, who knew the word NFT in January 2021, and now it's like one of the most Googled. I mean, Saturday Night Live did a spoof on it in April. I
Mhm.
mean, that's how fast it went. So, do you agree that because of the open source and the community and the decentralization and the, not trusting the man and the corporate, do you think we're going to just have this speed?
Listen, Carrie, you mentioned it earlier with that 11-year-old girl built
Yeah,
something that accessible. You couldn't, nobody at 11 years old had, the open door to build something so publicly accessible to
it's
that
crazy. It's
ever
crazy.
before. Like that is, you know, anybody, 12-year-old
Oh
sitting
yeah,
at home in his underwear in his desk with his mom
yeah.
telling him like lunch is ready can be building, creating, you know,
I'm
insane
gonna, I'm, I'm
projects.
gonna show you this. I'm gonna show you this. This is you. You said 12-year-old. Ready for this? So just today, I followed this 12-year-old girl named Nyla.
Mm-hmm.
That's her NFTs. They're called the Long Neck Ladies.
Yeah.
And she followed me back, which is cool. She already made $4 million as
Yeah.
a 12-year-old on making NFTs.
Yeah. It's accessible
She's
to
gonna be on the
anybody,
show. She's gonna be
anywhere, of any age. And because of that, it's going to drive competition, it's going to drive progress, it's going to drive innovation. And that's why it's going to be it also has the shoulders of previous technology. Technology moves exponentially faster because it has the shoulders of the previous technology to build from,
Yes.
But just that openness that anybody's able to participate in is going to drive competition, innovation, and it's going to be unreal, the speed as which we see this coming.
I'm excited. I'll tell you what, man, this has been a blast. Oh, I'm getting some reverb. Are you getting reverb?
What's that?
Like echoing. I'm getting some echoing of
Oh
myself.
no.
It's crazy. Hold on, let me mute you. Sweet. Okay. So, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Just the last 10 seconds. I got reverb. It's all good. It's a little echo. But this is Eric Diaz. He's the man of the hour. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's been a friend and chatting with me. He's going to be kind of like a staple in the show, and then we'll be bringing on some of these artists like Nyla and all these crazy people. So, Eric, I'm going to mute myself, but I'm going to unmute you and let you say goodbye to everybody.
Hey, thank you for tuning in. Comment below any questions, anything you want us to cover, and we'll be happy, to talk about it.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you.